Well, once again, thank you for joining us here at classicrockhistory.com. And it's a thrill to speak with you, Fernando. Um,
Oh,
Besides having a voice that, I mean, just can move anybody to tears. It moved me to tears the first time I heard you sing. You seem to be really inspired to, inspire people to pursue their dreams, to work really hard. And you seem to have a passionate message of never giving up. So I would love to talk to you about your journey to where you are today.
yeah, yeah. Wow, it's been quite the winding path, or long and winding road, as the Beatles said.
Yeah.
Um, it was, yeah. I mean, I didn't really start singing until later. Like I started at 17, and um,
I find that very interesting because you have this like amazing natural voice, and you never sang when you were a younger kid. You didn't realize that you had that voice.
I sang a little bit as a kid before my voice changed, and
Okay.
I got made fun of a lot, so I stopped singing. So we moved from Puerto Rico when I was 8, and I had this like really pretty boy soprano voice. And to try to fit in and assimilate, well, all it takes is a couple kids being mean, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'm not going to do that. So
Oh,
I got more into sports, um, and it wasn't until my junior year in high school that I was like, I had enough confidence to say, you know what, I don't care what people think. I can do sports and sing, um, and so I did. Um, so I met a voice teacher and started working, and I auditioned at the University of Central Florida for the voice department. I was actually there as a public relations major in the School of Business and Communications, and they laughed at me on my audition and told me I didn't have what it took to be a singer. Um, and that just kind of lit the fire. I had just finished Michael Jordan's his biography like 2 weeks before that. So I'm a huge Jordan fan, and he talked about how getting cut from his high school basketball team was the best thing that ever happened to him. It was this great catalyst for him to work harder and to prove them wrong. And that's kind of how I felt. And I identified that story, and I said, you know what? I said, I don't know how good I can be, but I'm going to make sure that I'm going to develop my talent as much as I can. And it's definitely not going to be because for a lack of not working. Um, and things started happening pretty quickly after that. I I just kind of treated it like a full time job and rehearsed 50, 60 hours a week, and took lessons, and just I sang anywhere and everywhere they'd let me.
well, I applaud you that you did not let that teacher or professor, persuade you not to continue on your journey. I had a school music teacher once tell me the same thing when I was in high school, and I've spent 40 years working as a musician. So I completely understand, you know,
Yeah,
how it felt to have somebody tell you that. But I think, you know, as someone who's been worked as a musician, someone who's also been a teacher, I think you always find there are certain people that it's so strong in them that it doesn't matter, what
yeah,
anyone tells you. Is that how you felt? It didn't matter?
yeah. I mean, I would say in that moment I was a 18-year-old kid. So at first I kind of was like, well, maybe they're right. And it took me like a couple weeks, and then I wouldn't say that like um I wouldn't say I had the confidence at that point yet to blow them off. What I just was like, more drew from the strength of saying, I'm going to prove them wrong, and I'm going to make them look like they made a really big mistake. Um, and I just kind of went to work. It wasn't probably until like I was 22 that I realized, okay, I really got something here. This has started to click, and um, I'm good at this.
Now you studied with many different teachers. I've read that you actually studied also with Placido Domingo. How was that studying with someone of that status?
I
So
mean, at first I couldn't even like get out 2 words. I was so just in awe. I mean, it was a full circle moment for me because my first um, introduction to opera was a CD of popular love songs that he put out that my parents played. And I remember listening to, like, he sang Maria from West Side Story, um, and Begin to Begin, and like just these older, beautiful love songs. Um, Annie's song, he sang Annie's song on that CD.
Isn't
You
that
know,
so, you know,
yeah,
singing John Denver and
yeah, singing John Denver.
yeah.
So but with an operatic voice, and I was just like, I remember as a kid being like, oh wow, that's so cool, like this, it's so powerful and but beautiful, and I didn't really understand that he was an opera singer. I just heard this incredible voice, and it moved me as a kid. So then to work with him, during my journey of becoming a singer was just, I mean, it took me like 2 days to be able to say a word. I was just like, it was so awkward. I couldn't say it. I was like, it was like one word. I was just in awe. I was like, but it was incredible. I learned a lot from him. Um, you know, I learned that even professionals like him struggle and have days where things don't work, and it was my voice was still settling. So that was something that gave me a lot of, just kind of settled me down, right? Because when you're, in your early 20s, like, things are still kind of shifting a little bit. Um, there were days where I'd feel like I woke up and I had a completely different voice than the day before. And things, it's almost like someone came in and put everything away in different places. Uh, so that really kind of settled me, like, okay, you just got to have to figure out, a pro just figures out how to deal with it and still deliver a performance. And the other thing I learned from him was just he didn't care if you were the janitor in the building. He treated every single person with dignity and like they were the most important person in the room. And that I definitely carried that with me, of just seeing people and acknowledging them, um, and being appreciative of, everybody that you come in contact with, regardless of their role.
Yeah, we wish that would be the human condition, the way of the human condition everywhere, that
Yeah,
people would respect each other. And here you have this legendary vocalist and teaching you one of the most basic, things about just being a human being, being a good person.
yeah,
It doesn't matter who you are or where you're from, just being a good person is what it's really all about. And I read another quote that you said that you've always felt that nothing was beneath you in playing. Like you could play any.
yeah.
You know.
I mean, I, you know, I've done everything. Like, I've sang in restaurants. I've put on ridiculous outfits. Um, to me, it was always an opportunity to perform, to get better, and to entertain. And I would say the only thing that I needed to make sure that it was music that would move, that would move me. That I was, I never really got into, or at least I wouldn't last very long if I signed on to do something that where the music wasn't, I didn't connect to it. I had to connect to it. It had to mean something to me, because to me, singing it's my therapy. Being on stage, performing, singing different songs, being in the moment, feeling those things, processing that through my own, experience. Um, so yeah, I mean, I remember, two times, right after 9/11, like the, the economy got really tough, and then again after '08, the big crash in '08, the economy got tough. And I know, like, a lot of friends of mine, colleagues of mine, that said, well, I'm not going to sing for less than $1,500, and they ended up having to get another job. And I was like, I'll go sing for anything. I'll sing for $100, because I'll sell CDs, or someone will tip me, or you know, and I just want to sing, and whatever you get. My dad always raised me to, like, just go to work, like, go do the job and do the best you can, and try to be the best at whatever it is you do. And I was still able to, make a living and feed my family, during two of, of the worst economic downturns, because yeah, nothing was beneath me. I went and sang in a restaurant for six days a week, and I learned things from doing that I wouldn't have learned. I learned stamina. I learned how to sing for 4 hours
Right.
without hurting my voice.
Right. Because
You
when
know,
you're playing a restaurant, you're not just doing it. It's not like a concert. You're playing 4 hours. You're playing maybe 40-minute sets.
and you're singing over noise.
Yes.
I don't
Yeah.
have a mic. I don't have a microphone. I'm going table to table acoustic. So you have to be careful and not push and do the right things and trust your technique and warm up and do the things that you have to do. And so I would say, every single job I've ever done, gig I've ever done, regardless whether it was, singing in a restaurant or singing at Carnegie Hall, I've learned something from it. So
Yeah. I think as a singer, when you're playing gigs like that and you're doing 3 or 4 sets a night, you have to be careful. It's in between the sets where it can get dangerous, where people want to talk to you. And
yeah,
that, and then, like you said, when it's loud in a club, in a restaurant, which it always is, that's where you can really hurt your voice. And so that's
yeah,
another thing you have to learn from that. How to be careful in between sets and
100%.
kind of just hide somewhere until you have to go back on stage.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, there's a lot that you can learn working the clubs, working in the restaurants. And, there are a lot of musicians who've been doing it for years. Some of them still make 50 to 100 bucks a night doing it, but they
yeah,
love doing it. And I think that's sort of, a training ground that just probably will stay with you forever.
100%. And I tell people all the time, like, and I'm not beneath going to do that again if I had to. If
Yeah.
that's what I had to do to go, pay the bills, I would go do it now. You know?
Yeah. Well, that's just the art of being a musician.
Yeah,
I say to my students a lot that want to go into music, if you can make a living as a musician, then you should consider yourself a successful musician if you can make a living.
well, and I think success is a very personal. It should be defined personally.
So,
Um, and I agree with you. Like, if you're able to make a living as a musician, there's a major level of success there to just that you've reached that very few people in the world get to do. Um, and I think the worst thing, obviously, with social media is like we try to compare or see what other people are doing, and we lose sight of the things that we have done, and the blessings and the successes that we've had. Um, and so I always try to go back to that of like, what's success mean to me, not to other people, or you know, what does it mean to me?
because that's how you find peace with yourself,
For sure.
right? I mean, that's very important. That's a really good point. Um, but then I guess you get to that point where you can make a living as a musician, then it's okay, let's get to the next level.
Right.
I think something that I read that David Foster said to you, always try to get better, always try to reach further.
Yeah, he said. Well, he said that great, good is the enemy of great, right? And so he said, he was just he commented on like, and that's something I still try to put into practice today. It's like, don't ever settle for mediocrity. Don't ever settle for, oh, that's good enough, let's put it out.
Yeah.
No, like, strive to be great. I think if we all kind of live by that, of striving for greatness, and not being, not accepting, we know what our best work is, right? If you can look in the mirror and be, and that's another thing my dad told me too. My parents told me growing up, if you turn in a paper and you can honestly say that that was the best that you can do, and you get a C or a D, I can live with that. But if you're honest with yourself and you say, I didn't do my best, and you get a bad grade, that's where we have a problem. You
Sure.
know, you know, I mean, I've learned a lot from David. That's one of them, of like, let's not just put something out there that's mediocre. Let's do things the right way, and put your passion and your heart and soul into it, and make it as great as it can be.
Well, he's the hit making machine. I mean, the man.
Yeah, He
I
is.
mean, he's had a lot of hits. He's a great musician, and I could just imagine how inspiring it must have been to work with someone like David Foster. To
Yeah, Dave, and Dave is a great friend. I mean, we still tour together. Um, we probably speak once a month at least. I mean, I've stayed at his house many times. He's definitely a friend, and beyond just someone I've worked with. And he's done so much for me, and um has has always looked out for me. So he's a great man.
well, I'm sure he feels the same way about you because he wants to work with you all the time. You know, working together as artists is not always just about the talent. It's about enjoying being around with each other all the time.
Yeah,
That's
for sure.
that's a big part of it. It's why some bands last for a long time and other bands just can't. You got to like the people that you work with.
Yeah, for
It's really
sure.
cool. Have there been other people that you've worked with that you felt you really learned a lot from or were inspired to work with?
Yeah, I'm Lionel Richie. I worked with a lot with Lionel. I opened for him and on some of his tours in Europe. We've done a lot of like corporate events and private events together. He's another one that is just a great human being. When the cameras are not pointing at him, he still, you know, treats people with respect and dignity and takes the time to, you know, talk to them, look them in the eye, and make them feel important. And not everybody in the music industry is like that. That has made it. Unfortunately, there's more that are not like that. So when you find people that are just really good humans, it really kind of shocks you and makes you like them even more. The other, I worked with Patrick Hamilton, who's a fantastic producer out of Belgium. In fact, I just went and sang at his 60th birthday party. He threw a big concert with some of the artists he's worked with. Um, so my wife and I flew out to Belgium for that. And he's amazing. He's like we call him like my wife actually was the one that coined the phrase. He's like Yoda. He's like like a Yoda producer, because he's so zen. He's so calm. He makes you feel really comfortable. Everyone has a different style, right? Some guys will yell at you or push you or try to. He's kind of like the opposite. Makes you feel comfortable. You know, um, get finds that just kind of creates a real zen environment, and somehow pulls out really great performances out of the artists that he works with without getting loud or animated or making the artist feel uncomfortable. So
Sure,
uh,
because when you're relaxed, you get good stuff when you're relaxed.
yeah, for
It's
sure.
especially as a vocalist. I mean, it's
Yeah,
it's one instrument that you probably have less control over than, say, being a piano player or a guitar player.
100%. But a lot of producers don't understand that. They don't understand. The voice is finicky. It's like time is money. They're in a rush, and I can't tell you how many recording sessions I've done where I'm like, I don't got my A game today. But it doesn't matter. Like the session is from 4 to 6 p.m. So off you go. And you got to figure out how to deliver it in those 2 hours, or they're just going to call somebody else. They don't care. I mean, I try to tell one guy, I'm like, give me a couple days for this to. I'm kind of fighting and he was like, no, I'll just call somebody else. I'm like, okay.
It's tough. And it's hard to control. I mean, I understand. I mean, sometimes you start to sing and you just feel I got it today. Like you could feel
Yeah,
the resonance. You could feel everything feels flexible. And other days it's like, where's my voice?
yeah, yeah,
And it's just the human body.
yeah,
It just doesn't respond. Sinatra, I remember once said that he had to sing every day. If he didn't sing every day, he just couldn't do it.
yeah,
Like it's
yeah. I definitely, when we're on tour, you definitely get into a rhythm, and I just get into a zone where I'm singing every day, and everything's just kind of like lined up, and my warm up takes like 5 minutes because I'm already
Already there.
I feel like a race car that's already on the track. It's already ready to go. Just put a little gas in it and off we go.
You know you're gonna kill it. You're
Yeah,
ready.
yeah.
Do you have any special remedies that you use? Anything that you drink to help your throat that you found?
I'm not a bit, I'm not huge on a lot of things. The one thing that it's become I wouldn't say crutch, but it's just become, you know, my now I'm superstitious about it is Ricola. I've got to have a regular flavored Ricola,
Okay. Yeah.
and a lot of times I'm actually keep it in my mouth while I'm singing. Um, and I I don't know when I started it, but it's been now at least 10 years, maybe 15, where it's the one thing I gotta have. And I've got some in my bag, it's in my rider. Like I'm super low key. If I've got my Ricola, and the other thing is I'll take like a 5 hour energy just to kind of, get the blood flowing and get pumped. I'll take that like 30 minutes before I go on, 15, 30 minutes before I go on. Other
Yeah.
than those two, I'm good.
The big
Some
yellow bag, right? The big yellow bag of Ricolas. You get them in Walgreens, and
yeah,
I
yeah,
know what you're talking about.
yeah,
We use them for teaching. You talk so much. You use them for teaching because it helps soothe the voice.
yeah,
That's very cool to hear that you use them too.
yeah. I'm hoping to get a sponsorship one day.
Well, maybe this interview will help you get them. So what else are you doing now? Is there something, a new project that you're working on, or
I'm doing a lot of producing
okay?
these days. I am gonna put out some music. We've been kind of looking at um, stuff that hasn't been released, and I've got about 50 songs like fully mixed and done that we've never released. So I'm gonna start releasing some of that and just put it out, because it's all really good. It's all really good stuff, and might as well you know put it out there and just sit on it. Um,
Are you going to put it
but
out as singles or as an album? I mean,
I
the
think
music
it's
industry
maybe
changed.
he's group them in the sort of way, and or definitely release some singles as well. We're kind of assessing what we have, and trying to put a strategy together on how best to do that. Um, but I've been pretty busy producing other acts and other shows. And also my son's 12, and I've been coaching his baseball team for the last few years, since COVID. So that's a big priority for me right now. And I miss so much of his early life, traveling and pursuing this career, that I don't really want to be gone for the second half of his childhood. So
You don't want to miss those years.
I don't want to miss him. And like David Foster's been great, because there's certain times where I've turned down work with David, and I'm just like, I can't, David. We got a baseball tournament.
You,
he, he just laughs. And then other times, I've taken tons of red eyes, from the West Coast back home to make it for, back in time for baseball that next morning. But for me, it's just trying to find a work-life balance. And My son loves baseball. He's great at it. He's really into it. And so I want to make sure I'm here. My wife's getting her master's degree, so it's been great being home and helping support her as she finishes that.
what is she getting a master's degree in?
She's getting her master's degree in mental health counseling,
Okay, cool.
which the world needs.
Yes,
Uh,
absolutely. Especially now, more than
yeah, more than ever. So she graduates in a month, which is great. So I've been able to be here for the last 3 or 4 years. Still travel, still do some things, but not to the extent. I mean, I was on the road for 200 plus days a year. for probably 15 years.
Right.
Uh,
And you miss things. You miss, all these different events. You miss the holidays. When was the last time you were home for New Year's Eve or for,
worked on every holiday,
yeah.
every major holiday for, from the age, 21 through, you know, 35. Oh, yeah, 14, 15 years. Um, so getting those back has been really special because I don't take them for granted because I didn't have them for a long time, you know?
I think that's the one thing young people don't realize going into the music industry or any sort of entertainment business is that you're going to miss a lot. You're going to miss those special days, especially if you're out on the road.
Yeah.
It's trade-offs.
Yeah. Yeah. Try celebrating Thanksgiving in Holland. I did that.
That's a great one.
There's
Yeah,
no turkey found anywhere.
yeah, yeah. So have you obviously been around the world? Any particular countries you enjoy going to or places where you love the food the
Oh,
most?
man, I love Spain, Italy, um, France. Um, Singapore is another big highlight for me. That's a great city. Um, um, there's beautiful parts of Canada. Been, I've spent a lot of time in Canada, all over the country. Um,
Montreal, Quebec, those areas, or yeah.
Montreal, Quebec, then British Columbia is gorgeous. Victoria, Vancouver, um, and then on the East Coast too, like Halifax, New Brunswick, and um, but yeah, I mean, we love going to Europe. I've gone with my wife and son 3 times. Usually on work. They've come out while I've been working, and then we
Right.
spend a couple of weeks. So I joke that my son by the age of 5 had more passport stamps than the average American. Because I mean, he by that point I think he had been in I think some like 16 countries. Um, by the time he was 5.
Well, that's real special. I
Yeah,
took my youngest son. We went backpacking across Europe a few years ago, just before COVID hit, and I just loved the food in Rome and in Germany too. I love the food in Germany. I thought Germany had some
yeah.
great.
Oh yeah, there's some great food, some good schnitzel.
Yes, Wiener Schnitzel. That's the first thing I had.
Yeah,
I arrived there, and we went to Cologne, Germany, and the food was just so fabulous there. And I noticed that they tend to put, like here in New York, you walk into a restaurant, they put water on the table. But in Germany, they seem to just put beer on the table. That was like their water.
water.
Now, you lived in New York for a while too. I think I
I
read.
Yeah, I lived in New York for a couple of years, actually in Jersey City, and found that I would I auditioned and stuff, and I lived there for 2 years, and I was only there for about a total of 2 months. I'd go to an audition, book a job, but then it was outside of New York, so then I'd go do the job, come back, audition for something else, get booked, leave, So it was it got to the point where I just kind of moved my stuff back to Florida, rather than paying the amount in rent that I was paying. I bought a house in Florida instead, um, and then just flew as I needed.
A lot less traffic, I would assume, down where you are compared to.
A lot less. Yeah.
Were you driving when you lived in Jersey City? Were you driving into the city or
No, I take the PATH train in.
with the PATH train?
Yeah,
Much easier. It
much easier.
took 25.
I was right on the water in Jersey City, like a block from the PATH train. So,
Okay.
in one of those newer high rises that they had there.
How about the pizza in New York? Did you like the pizza and the bagels?
Love the pizza.
Yeah.
I love the pizza in New York. My favorite pizza in New York is at was it John's of Bleecker Street?
Oh,
Um,
Bleecker Street?
yeah, in the Village, I think. Yeah,
Well, there's, in New York City, you don't want to just say there's one pizza shop on every block. There's like 2 or 3 pizza shops on every block.
I know.
I mean, there's just so many of them.
Yeah,
But you know, that's down the village. There's a lot of great places to eat down there.
Yeah.
So, well, I don't want to hold you much longer. I appreciate, you know, you chatting
Yeah.
with us here. Um, um, it's been really nice talking to you, and I'm hoping that a lot of younger people will see this interview and be inspired, you know, by your work ethic and your road to success.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, you know, I love working with younger people and just kind of, you know, reinforcing, the message that, if you want something bad enough, you know, uh, make it, and you're passionate about it. If that's what you wake up, if that's the first thing you think about when you wake up, and the last thing you think about before you go to bed, just do whatever you got to do. You know, and it's definitely there's so many more possibilities now with the internet and social media that that wasn't around when I started my career. Um, so I mean, I watch my 12-year-old utilize TikTok, and he he, in like minutes he's getting 10, 20, 30,000 people watching his TikToks. I mean, it's this next generation is incredible.
It is
uh,
crazy. Yeah.
so when I think when they can match the work ethic with their talent and with their dreams, it's just anything's possible.
Yeah, you could kind of do it. I mean, I shouldn't say you can do it on your own. I mean, it's always helpful to have certain people help you out, but you have a good chance now if you have the
Yeah.
work.
Yeah, I mean, you still need, I mean, that's probably the thing I wish someone would have told me, was like, you don't really do anything on your own.
Yeah.
You know, you always need people that are going to believe in you. But before other people can believe in you, you have to believe in yourself. So that's you got to get to that moment where you believe in yourself and you say, I'm going to do this. And then you start attracting other people that are going to believe in you. But you need a lot of people to help you along the way. And you can also put yourself in situations where you create your own luck, right? You could put yourself in places where the opportunities will present themselves because you're out there and you're trying to make things happen. If you're just sitting at home waiting for the phone to ring, like, that's not how that works. No, go sing at a restaurant 5, 6 nights a week. Go bust your ass, and you know things will come. You
Because you
know,
never know who may walk into that restaurant and
absolutely,
sing or play. You know?
absolutely. I got you know, I did a charity event once where I donated the performance and I donated my band, and I mean, I can't even tell you what I met a person there that changed my life, and that basically was responsible for buying my house, and it wasn't something I was looking for. It just happened. And again, you just put yourself in situations with no expectations, and be present, and kind of look around and pay attention, and then jump on an opportunity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you're saying all that because I think that will inspire a lot of younger people. You
Yeah.
know, like you said, you work very hard, but you do. You know, everybody always needs help, and you have to be that type of person where people want to help you too. And
Sure.
that comes down to how you treat people.
Yeah. 100%.
Uh, Being able to when you're young, and I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about most younger people, especially musical artists. There's a lot of ego involved,
Yeah.
and you have to know how to control that.
Yeah. It's important. You need the ego, but it can't
Right.
take over.
You have to balance ego and confidence, I think.
Yeah.
You know,
For
'cause
sure.
if you don't have that confidence and you don't have that drive and that ego, then it's very hard to do.
Yeah. I tell my baseball players all the time. I said, you need to be confident, but not cocky.
Right.
You need to go out there like you're the best baseball player on the ball field with that confidence. but you don't need to say that you're the best ball player. You just go out there with the intention of being the best ball player. And I think that's the difference.
Well, I think your calling is not just as just brilliant singers, but it's also as a teacher too. You have that in you.
Well, well, we'll see. We'll see. I appreciate.
You never know. There's a lot. I know a lot of my friends who've been in the music business, and we were all musicians for a long time. I'm in my 60s now, and we were all musicians in our 20s and 30s and 40s, and many of us are all now teachers.
Yeah,
It's just kind of where you go
yeah,
because you did what you wanted to do. You had the success that you felt was successful, and then you want to kind of share that
yeah,
people. And I see that in you, the way you talk.
yeah. No, I love to do that. I love to give back. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you'll keep making
Uh,
some great recordings because man, when you sing, it does it, it's a natural thing. It just brings tears to your eyes.
Thank you, Brian. I appreciate that.
Yeah, man. It's real special, the voice you have. And I hope you continue to make just beautiful recordings and everybody gets a chance to hear them.
Awesome. I will. I will do that. I'll keep putting stuff out, and hopefully people keep listening.
I think they will. All right, my friend, Fernando, thanks so much for talking with me today. This has been a very enjoyable experience.
Thank you, Brian. Likewise.
All
Have
right,
a great.
man. I'll see you next time. Bye
You
bye.
got it.